You know that moment at the edge of a freezing pool, promising you'll jump on 3. 1, too cold. 2, maybe you should prepare a little more. 3, and somehow you're counting again. That's how 2026 gets delayed, by a plan that never finishes. Most people don't avoid change because they're weak. They avoid it because their brain is protective. When uncertainty rises, your inner alarm system treats the unknown like a threat. It doesn't whisper, it blares, your amygdala hitting the panic button. So it offers you a deal. Gather more information, then you'll feel safe. And that's where the trap lives, because you start confusing preparation with progress. You tell yourself, I'm being responsible, I don't rush. But sometimes responsible is just a polished mask for one fear, the fear of being seen trying and not being perfect. Paper feels safer than reality. A draft can't judge you. A checklist can't reject you. A 5-page plan can feel like control. It can also be a hiding place. Not because you don't want the goal, but because starting means entering reality. Messy, unpredictable, and honest. And while you're polishing the perfect beginning, time keeps moving without asking permission. Here's the villain most people don't name. It's not laziness, it's the modern worship of certainty. Perfection culture, information overload, and fear loops disguised as research. We live in a world that trains you to believe if you just study longer, you'll finally feel ready. So you watch another video, read another thread, save another template, rewrite the same plan in a nicer font. You download productivity apps, color code goals, and call it progress. And you mistake information for movement. But the future isn't a rigid chessboard where every move can be calculated. It's a living environment. It changes while you're thinking. That's why perfect plans break so easily, because they're built for a world that holds still. And the more you try to remove uncertainty, the more your mind demands proof it can't actually get. So you stay on the edge of the pool, practicing the jump without ever getting wet. Psychology has a humbling insight here. Humans are not great at predicting what will make them happy. We imagine outcomes, but we underestimate how adaptable we are once we're inside the choice. Research on effective forecasting suggests that people can agonize over major decisions, moving cities, changing careers, yet end up no happier than those who choose and commit. Not because the choice didn't matter, because adaptation matters more than perfection. And there's a parable I love, often repeated in creative circles. A teacher splits a ceramics class. One group is graded on quantity. The other is graded on one perfect pot. The twist: the best pots come from the quantity group, because repetition teaches what theory can't. Their hands learn faster than their thoughts. And that's the rule of 2026. Your life won't be shaped by flawless planning. It'll be shaped by contact, feedback, and adjustment. So let's make this simple and repeat it until it lands. You don't need a full plan. You need a direction and the first 3 steps. Not the whole staircase, not the perfect timeline, just the next 3 steps you can take this week. Because clarity isn't something you find like a hidden key. Clarity is something you build, and you build it by moving. Give yourself permission to start badly. The first version is supposed to be clumsy. The first pancake is rarely perfect. That's not failure, that's calibration. Your nervous system needs evidence that mistakes are data, not a verdict on who you are. So when your mind says, wait until you know how, answer with structure, direction plus 3 steps. If your direction is change careers, your 3 steps might be: update your resume this week, message 3 people in the field, take 1 interview for practice, even if you're not ready. When the how feels foggy, keep the why visible. The why is a compass. It keeps you walking when the map isn't finished. Why do you want this? To feel freer, to breathe again, to stop living like your life is on pause, to show your kids a living parent, not a work-shaped shadow. That why gives you energy when the plan falls apart. And make revision part of the process. Every few weeks ask, what have I learned? What no longer works? What's the next right turn? You're not abandoning the plan, you're upgrading it, like a GPS reroute when the road changes. Here's what people forget. Starting changes the brain. An unfinished beginning grabs your attention. Once you open the loop, your mind naturally looks for closure. That's why a tiny start can create surprising momentum. You don't have to feel ready first. Often you feel ready after you begin. So the mantra isn't, I need to be ready. The mantra is, let's go. Not reckless, not rushed, just committed. And if 2026 is calling you, answer with motion. One email, one workout, one application, one honest conversation, one step that proves you're no longer negotiating with fear, you're leading it. Here's the shift that changes everything. 2026 won't reward the person who plans the most. It will reward the person who begins and keeps adjusting. You don't need certainty to move. You need leadership over your own mind. A calm decision that says, I can handle feedback. I can adapt. I can learn in public. You're not late. You're not broken. You're practicing courage in small doses. So don't ask, do I have the perfect plan? Ask, what is my first honest step? Then breathe and say it, quietly, firmly, let's go. Julia opened a small cafe with more desire than certainty. For months, it was empty, so she changed one small thing every week and kept going. A year later, there were lines at the door. She later said, if I knew how hard it would be, I might not have started. That's why you start before you know, because the year is already knocking. Open it.